Hello, everybody, and welcome. Today is the October 26th Q&A session. Our host for today's call is going to be Oliver Fernandez. Just wanted to say thank you for spending time with the group today. And you can start off by introducing yourself, and whoever has any questions, start thinking of them. Feel free to throw them in the chat or feel free to unmute yourself and ask.
Awesome. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate the invite. Yeah, so I guess we might as well just start off this thing how I first met Rod. So when I was in Washington D.C. at the time. I was renovating some units here. They're typically, if you see the properties in D.C., they're all row home units, right? So they're two family or single family row homes that were like, you had your basement, first floor, second floor. And I had renovated one of those properties down the street. And while I was renovating that property, I found or I saw another contractor or another group renovating a property up the street. And I realized that they were converting them into multiple units. So I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Especially once I, got to the finish line with that property that I was doing from a construction standpoint. The reason why I thought it was interesting is because, once I got it done and renovated and was renting it out, now all of a sudden I had this situation where I only had one tenant, right? So when I was listening to this podcast, and I heard Rod, and he had another gentleman on the call, and they were talking about cash flow from day one. You're talking about being able to scale and get into bigger units, and I was like, wow, this sounds awesome. And then he had an invite to come out to his event, and that was how I met Rod. How did you guys meet Rod? Just let me know in the chat, just so that we can just get a little clarity on how we all connected with Rod.
I just met him today.
Oh, cool. That's even better. So how'd you meet Rod today?
Well, I just signed up, and this is my first meeting. Got signed up for the Phoenix event, and he gave me a call just to welcome me today. So that's great.
Yep. So a live boot camp, warrior event. Yep, live boot camp in Denver last year. Met him at a local Rio. Okay. Instagram, live boot camp. Cool. Everybody's welcoming you, Mr. Mike Olson. So that's cool. We got some love for you, Mike. We got the Orlando boot camp. Yeah, boot camp in Denver. So yeah, I guess we all have like a very similar story. Rod's really good at getting out there and getting everybody mixed up. Because I met Rod, on the podcast, and then I went to the boot camp in Denver, and then that's when my mind just was blown there. At that point, we had like 7 units, and I wanted to get to 100. That was the big goal. That was like my 30-year target, get to 100 units. And I was listening at the boot camp, and I'm seeing these people up there with 4,000 units, 5,000 units, and I was like, oh my gosh, how is this happening? And then they were walking through step by step how they were able to acquire those units, and I was like, oh wow, I get it. I see it, I can see it. And it took a while, right? It took building partnerships with other warriors, going to the events, being engaged in the group. But now, like 5 years later, I can tell you that we've accumulated over 3,000 units. It's the exact number is 3,049. So the stuff that Rod's teaching it works. You just got to put the time in. You got to put the effort in, put the energy in, and make good partnerships with people in the group. Yeah, we got some. That's cool. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, and I'm telling you, I was at 7 units. So I'll dive back into a little bit more of like where I started. Right. So I started on this single family row home here in DC, and I was just a contractor because that's who I am. I'm a contractor. I was going in there. I was renovating this property, getting it ready to be rented as a single family home. And while I was at that property, I was in the back alleyway, organizing the trash. The people that I was working with, and I think when I say people, the contractors that I was working with at the time, they never wanted to do cleanup. So I was always stuck on cleanup duty. And I was back in the back alleyway throwing away some of their trash. And I met this older gentleman. He was like 92 at the time. And he was kind of a little skeptical, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing back here in the alleyway?" And I'm like, I'm just throwing away some trash and renovating this property up the street. And we just we started connecting. We were, and he's like, "Hey, can I come check it out?" So I showed him it, and he was just blown away because he had seen all the destruction in the neighborhood, from the drugs, the gangs, all the craziness that happens in transitioning parts of DC. And to see this property that I was renovating, he's like, wow, he's just blown away. And I built a relationship with that guy over the next year, and he ended up owner financing me 2 properties down the street that he owned. And there was about $1 million worth of real estate. They were really dilapidated, really worn down. But again, I was the contractor. I love construction. And I was like, yeah, if you're going to owner finance these to me, like I'll renovate them. So, he ended up owner financing me like $1 million worth of real estate for like $20,000 down. And I pushed on my construction business to be able to generate the resources to be able to go and get loans to renovate those properties. And that's exactly when I met Rod, is when I was finishing renovating those properties, looking to make a refinancing out of those properties and looking to buy another bigger property on the construction side. And when Rod was talking about cash flow from day one, I was like, man, I got to get some of that, because, if any of you guys do like construction projects, put in the chat, yes, if you do construction projects. Yes, Tyler Edwards said yes. Yeah. Alex Abbott says yes. Who else? Brandon says yes, Vinny. John Sidoti said yes. Yeah, I'm a contractor too. So Robert, we get each other. We're on the same wavelength, right? So like these are capital intensive. There's no money coming in when you're renovating all of the units, right? And then that's what I was doing. I was buying dilapidated properties where like the way the guy was showering the house was, there was like a half-inch copper water line, and he cut in a hose bib, and he literally was turning on the hose bib and having the water come down. So these are real rough properties, and there's no cash flow from day one. And Rod was talking about cash flow from day one, that really intrigued me to the multifamily side. And we bought our first property. I think like 6 or 7 months after joining the group, and it was down in Atlanta, Georgia. It was a 152 unit property. It still had some dilapidated units, right? It wasn't perfect by any means. But it was a property that had, to be exact, it was like 30 down units. But there was cash flow coming in, right? So the cash flow coming in helped us pay the mortgage. Anybody like paying your mortgage with not your own money? Put yes in the chat. Everybody's saying yes now, right? Yeah, everybody likes paying the mortgage with not your own money, right? So that's what we were doing with the property. But then we still had the ability to do construction right on those 30 down units. So that was really cool. So what kind of units are you guys buying? What kind of questions do you guys have from a contractor standpoint? Because what I do is like I partner with really good operators. I'm not the main operator. I'm not the main operator. I like to partner with really good operators and then do what I'm really good at. And that's construction. I learned that from Rod's first event. He said, man, I hate being in situations where I'm one person trying to solve 10 problems. And anybody ever bootstrapped and tried to, wanted success, didn't have success, but was willing to do whatever it took to get success. Well, that was me, and then that's probably a lot of you in this group. But when you're doing that, like it's usually one person with 10 problems. But what Rod was saying, and it totally flipped my mindset, was he wants to have 10 people solving one problem. And that's what I love about these big units and these big properties, because we can come together as a team. I let my operator buddies that are really good at operating these deals do what they're really good at, and then I do what I'm really good at, and that's the construction side of things. So what questions do we have on construction side, or like what deals are you guys buying? Where are you guys at in the market? So it looks like John said he's buying industrial that does cash flow. Industrial is a good market. I just saw a newsletter the other day that Blackstone was buying a bunch of industrial up in Chicago. I mean, not many people are buying real estate right now, but you know, Blackstone is in there. The one that what they are buying is industrial, so that's cool. Yeah, Karen asked about pointers about due diligence. So, you know, the due diligence process, I actually love the due diligence process. And the reason why I love it is because you start to get an opportunity to look under the hood, you know, and when you're buying these smaller properties, like, you know, there's rarely ever any financials. There's really not a lot of information. There's not a lot of sophistication. Whereas like we buy these bigger properties, 100+ unit deals, like there's real financials, right? There's a real rent roll. There's real stuff that's going on that you got to like look under the hood. And a lot of times, you know, that's where you're kind of, what Rod also says is like you're digging for gold, right? You're looking for those opportunities and when you're doing the due diligence. So I love the due diligence process. So one of the things that, you know, key pointers in that process is I get into every unit. What about you guys? Who's actually, just put in the chat, say yes if you've been on a due diligence and you've actually been in the field and saw it. Put yes in the chat, because this was a game changer for me, because like I was kind of, I'm not to be 100% honest with you, I was scared to do a 100-unit deal. I was petrified of a 100-unit deal. Like, how do you do a 100-unit deal? It was like so scary for me, right? But it wasn't until I got on site and actually started to get a good feel for the properties and see, you know, the property manager and see some of the tenants that were renting from this place. And I only see 3 yeses, right? Like that's not a lot of people doing due diligence. Like that's a key pointer right there, is we got to get out in the field. We got to get belly to belly with some of this stuff. Like we got big goals, right? Who's got a goal to buy a 100+ unit deal? Raise your hand. I can see you. Yeah. Let's get out in the field. Because once you get out in the field, it starts to humanize the whole process, right? A lot of us probably have seen it on a spreadsheet or, you know, looked at it online, and it's like really intimidating. But like that was a game changer for me once I got on site and started doing due diligence. And it wasn't even on my deal; it was on another person's deal, right? But I tagged along, right? And I was like, you know, looking, kept my eyes open. One thing that I've always done is like in any situation, I always got my eyes open. Like, where's the opportunity here? Like listening to everybody, picking up on all the things that they're talking about. You know, when they're starting to say, we can go in here, renovate this kitchen and turn it into a granite countertop kitchen and put new cabinets here, paint the cabinets, and we can get $200. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I got a question, like, well, how do they know that we can get $200? Well, because we did that due diligence, right? And the operator that I was going on that due diligence with was really good. So he also went to the property next door, and I got my question answered. How did he know that he could get $200 more for it? Well, he was going and shopping the competitors as well, right? And I got an opportunity to see like how they understand, like, oh, you can get $200 more for this, or you're not gonna, if you go and renovate that, like you're not gonna get any more money for it. So like it might need to be done. It might, you know, it might be like, it might make you feel good, but like you're not gonna increase value at the property for doing that. So like as a contractor, we want to stabilize our assets, but at the same time we want to increase the value at it. So we need to we don't want to just renovate everything. We want to renovate the things that are going to drive value. Yeah. So those are the 3 big tips for due diligence, right? Is like go to one, because like they're really, really valuable. Number 2 would be when you're there, like listen and be a sponge and go to every unit, like go in there and really dig deep and ask the questions that you have. And then number 3, when you're on those due diligence, as important as it is to go and review that property, you need to see the competition around you, because that's really what the opportunity is. Like, what do? We buy things that might be a Volkswagen, right? And there's a Rolls Royce right down the street, and we're kind of right in the middle with like a newer Ford and Chevy, right? Like we're trying to, what I mean by in the middle, like we're trying to renovate it to to that Ford or Chevy, right? And then that's how we make money, is off the spread. But if we just are so tunnel vision and we're only looking at our property and we buy that property, and then everything else around us is crappy, it kind of brings us down to that level, you know. And it's like this weird inertia. It's like sucks you in, right? Cool. Hope that answers your question, John. Let me see what else we got. Okay, yeah, Karen, I hope that answers your question, Karen. Let me know in the chat if it did. Okay, so we got Alex. He says, what are your target markets for construction projects? So the markets that I'm investing in are Atlanta, Georgia, and down in the Texas market in the Houston area. The reason why I like those markets is because there's people that have the resources to pay for my renovation, right? Because we can go and renovate a property, but if we renovate a property and the people that we're renovating the property for don't have the resources to pay for our renovations, we just kind of put ourselves in a really weird spot. So we want to be in markets that people have the resources to pay for our renovations, right? One of my ventures says, solve rich people problems and you'll get paid really well. But like most rich people don't want to live in an apartment. So like we want to solve people that have money problems, so that, like, you know, that we can give them something new to live in, and like they're excited, they're happy, and they're willing to trade off $200 extra a month. But like when we look at it over the entire portfolio, 100+ unit property, like that either makes or breaks our deal, right? Alex, let me know if that answers your question in chat. Cool.
Yeah, it does. I think just to kind of continue on that, if you don't mind, I guess one of the things I was curious about, you know, you said you're, I guess I think of construction as a boots on the ground skill set. And, you know, I'm not a construction expert, so that's why I'm asking. I guess I'm curious, when, you know, if someone brings you a deal that's not in your target market, but meets that criteria where rich people invest or whatever it might be, right, where there's money going into that market, are you able to set up and operate construction remotely, and how long does that take to set up?
Yeah, really good question. Another thing that used to intimidate me so much is like going to different markets. Like I was telling you before, I'm a contractor, and we do construction projects for the feds, right? So that's like the Navy, the Air Force, the General Service Administration. They manage all the federal government buildings throughout the whole United States. So one of the things that like really helped me get off the ground in that business in the beginning, like 15 years ago, was I was marketing across the entire United States. I was the people that I would be going to these events, and they'd be like, hey, where's your target market? And I'm like, dude, I don't care. I will go anywhere. And they were like, dude, this guy's crazy. But I was serious. Like my target was to take care of my mom and my 3 sisters. I was willing to do whatever it took. Like, I don't care. Like I had no roots anywhere. Like I had, you know, I didn't have a wife and kids like I do now. So I was willing to go. If I got a job in California, I'd go to California. If I got a job in Florida, I'd go to Florida. If I got a job in Texas, I'd go to Texas. So I really didn't care. But I did get my first job down in Sanibel Island, Florida. And after that job, I got a job in Albany, Georgia. And then I got another job in Washington, D.C. Then I got another job in Mississippi, Gulfport, Mississippi. Then I got another job down in Corpus Christi, Texas. And then it was like, oh my God, I'm all over the place. So like I got the skill set of like how to have conversations with my team in the field and be able to picture what was going on, right? So I can help them solve problems, right? And now like we're duplicating that throughout the organization. Now like I got other project managers that are in a central location, right? Some of them are here in Washington, D.C. We have another person that's in the Texas market, right? But they're running jobs all throughout the United States. In the same exact way. And we do that through, you know, having our boots on the ground, like a superintendent on site. We also do it through having great partners. Like when we get into those markets, we're calling all the supply houses, right? We're calling the paint supply house. Hey, give me your 3 best contractors, paint contractors. We're calling the plumbing supply house. Hey, Ferguson, please give me your 3 best plumbers in the area. We're going to we're calling the drywall supply house. Like, give me your 3 best drywall installers. We're calling the flooring company locally. Give me your 3 best flooring contractors. And then we're meeting them on site, and whoever we have a good feel, whoever shows up, right? Like, with contractors, like a lot of them won't even show up, even though they're the best, right? Whoever shows up, whoever's like, you get that vibe from someone that like they know what they're doing, they can execute. Those are the people that we go with, right? And then we have our one person who's boots on the ground, that's stabilizing and providing information that we can trust, right? And sometimes like subcontractors they provide information, but it might not be some information you can trust, right? So we have a person that is giving us information we can trust. And Rod talks about this a lot too. You want to have your person who's going to be boots on the ground, right? We have our person who's boots on the ground, and they're driving that project to the finish line.
Hey, Oliver.
Yes.
It's Dave Lopez. Pleasure to meet you, and thank you for this. Wonderful. How do you handle that with underwriting? So before you even want to commit to going to a property, but you know that it needs renovation, how do you handle construction in that scenario?
Yeah, so really good question. Let me ask you a follow. Like, so when you say it needs construction, are you thinking like a total gut renovation, or is this something where you're thinking like you go in and like we're gonna change out the cabinets, paint it and do like the floors?
The second.
Okay, so one of the things that I've come to realize is that like a lot of the markets are the same. Like the prices don't vary that much. Like maybe like if you're in New York City, like prices are going to be crazy, but like the markets that a lot of us are in, like the prices are pretty relative, like really relative. So like if you get comfortable with the prices in your market, right? And like, whether it's flooring, paint, what are the people locally charging, right? You can oftentimes use those same numbers in those other markets, right? And another thing to check would be to call the local supply house and get the best painter and just say like, hey, I got a 1,000 square foot unit that I need to paint, right? And it's got 4 walls, and it's got basically 1,000 or 2,000 square feet of wall that I need to actually paint. What are you going to charge me for that? And they'll give you a price per square foot on that actual wall coverage that you need to paint. And then you literally take that number and you go to, if you got 80 units in your property, you times that number times 80. And then if you got 300 units in your property, you take that paint number and you times it by 300. That's how I do it in areas that I'm not as familiar with. You got to find a way to get reality. And the way I get reality is like finding a local expert in that area, and having a conversation, adding value in the way I know, and tell them, hey, if I get this deal, I'm gonna, we can come together and you'll paint this place for me. But right now, I got this one question, and I need to know how much is it gonna cost to do 1 unit. Don't overwhelm them and say 300, because they're just gonna be like, dude, this I can't answer that. But one unit, to simplify it, 1 unit. Give me the price of 1 unit, and then you can do the math and just extrapolate that to however many units you have. Dave, does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you, sir.
Love it. All right. I like the feedback. So if you guys have questions, just fire them out. But I'll keep going down the list. My guy Alex, what does Alex say? What are your target markets for construction products? Actually, I think I answered that one. All right. John said we closed a multi-tenant last week. Love that, John. Love that. And have 2 more closing by the end. Industrial, cool. Yeah, industrial is an interesting market right now. What else we got? Nice to see you. Nice to see you too. I don't think he's talking to me, Angel, but nice to see you. All right, well, we got a bunch of yeses, yes, sir. I don't even know what I was saying there, but somebody was liking it. All right, what we got? So we got some. All right. Any other questions? Hey, Oliver, what construction project management software do you use for your value adds? So this is kind of an interesting question, right? It kind of depends on where you're at, right? There's been times where I did my whole thing in a Google Express or an Excel spreadsheet. Now, if I had to do it all over again, I would be in Google because I really didn't have money to buy Microsoft Office at the time. So I've been using Google spreadsheet. But you know, once you get a couple of these under your belt, like we use Procore now. Well, you know, Procore is, you know, I you know, even though we have resources, like I get aggravated every time I get that bill for Procore because they don't charge per user, they just charge based off of like what you do in revenue. So it's like it's yeah, it's an interesting business model. I respect it because, like, you know, I like creative business models, and I like making money, so they're making money. But yeah, that's, you know, once you know, we do like 40 million in construction, so like we need some heavy duty software. But honestly, I would stick with I mean, we even still have some spreadsheets that we use, and they're like, you know, we track every, you know, just tracking things and focus. That's really the bigger thing about all of this is having something to focus on. Like, you can never improve what you don't track. You know, it's like, you know, I have conversations with my team, and it's like, hey, how's this project going? Feels like we're doing good. Like, no, I don't care how you feel. Like, dude, how are we doing? Like, we got 10 units to do. Like, where are we at? Did we do 2? Did we do 10? Did we do 5? Like, where are we at? Like, I don't want to hear the feel. Like, and that's what the spreadsheets like help do, and that's what the software helps do, is like remove the feeling out of all of this stuff. Like, hey, I feel like we're doing good, we're making progress. Like, yeah, these guys are giving good effort. Well, try going to the power company and paying with effort. They don't care. They want results, right? So they want they want tangible results. And if we don't have tangible results, then we can't submit our draws, and we can't you know, get the resource to keep growing the organization. So I see you laughing, Owen. you probably relate in some way or another. Yeah. So that's the deal with the project management software. It's really just having something that you can focus on and get the emotion out of the thing, and just be like, hey, we said you were going to do this and we did this. And then, like, how do we improve on it? How do we get 1% better next week? How do we get 1% better the week after? How do we get 1% better? And then after, when you look at it, you're like, whoa. You know, we have a flooring store, right? And we bought that business. It had been in business for 30 years, right? And the most it had ever done, and it was the last year that we bought it, was $6 million. We took that business. The first year we did 8 million. The second year we did 12 million. This year we're going to do 22 million in it. So it's like, and the way we did that is by like tracking and making sure and holding the team accountable. We didn't do it by like, yeah, it feels like we're putting out a lot of proposals today, Oliver. Like, no, we tracked that stuff, and we were like, hey, each team members, we got 5 of us, like everybody's going to do 10 proposals this today, and by the end of the week, we're going to each have 50 out the door, and tracking it. So that's how I really use project management software. You know, sometimes the stuff like gets me aggravated. I'm like, I don't even know, like they have so many bells and whistles. Like, I just need to simplify down sometimes and just like see what's real. Jonathan says, let's connect on Calendar. Yeah. Or he's talking to other warriors. So go connect with Jonathan Dan. All right. He's already got a call booked at the home. Cool. All right. So you got a lot. All right. What other questions you have? I had a question. When we are ready to sell our property, I love this. You know, why do I love this? I didn't even read the first sentence. I loved it. Because he's already thinking about the exit before he even gets in the deal, right? And that's what we need to do. Like, if you don't have an exit strategy when you get in the deal, like, you might be stuck in the deal, right? And no one wants to be stuck in the deal. So he's already thinking about how to sell the property the moment he gets into it, right? There's still going to be a lot of work to do in between, but I see you laughing again. You know what I'm talking about. All right, cool. So you said, do we want to sell at what the current market cap in the area is going for, or are there any specific market caps we should be targeting? Yeah, so this is another good one, and a lot of our camaraderies, I'm not really, I hope I said that word right, but a lot of our fellows in the industry are kind of getting in trouble right now because of that, right? And there's always a current market cap, right? Like, what is somebody willing to pay for it today? But like when you get in weird times where now all of a sudden interest rates are going up, like what does that do? That affects cap rates. So a lot of people's values have been impacted, and I'm not immune to that, you know. So you really want to be careful about that, because we were in a cycle where it was just interest rates just kept going down, so caps kept getting compressed, and everybody was making money, and everybody's like, yeah. Now it's going another way, right? And now people are like, oh, how do I handle this situation? So yeah, you really want to be, you definitely want to put a cap rate for that market. You know, you don't want to be taking cap rate, you know, extrapolating cap rates. So like I said to do that for like paint prices, right? But I wouldn't do that for cap rates, because like that's a big number. And it can impact values like dramatically, right? Like that's one of the things we love about real estate, right? Especially multifamily real estate, is like we get paid a multiplier on this stuff, right? Like, so you get for every $1 on like a what is it, 5 cap? It's like what is it? Let's do the math here on that. So 1 divided by 0.05. Yeah, it's 20x multiple, right? So you make $1, you can charge more, $1 more, you got $20 in value, right? Like that's what we love about this business, right? And they talk about it as the 8th wonder of the world. What's it called? Compound interest, right? Yeah. But it also works the other way around against you. You don't want that big rock rolling against you, right? So because that multiplier effect goes the other way. So now like cap rates go up, right? Now that $20 for every dollar is going against you, and you're like, oh, this hurts. This is a heavy rock to lift. But how do you get out of that, right? Let's think about how we get out of it. We gotta increase income. That's the only way to do it, is increase income. And how do we increase income? We got to go into that value, and oftentimes it's through construction. That's why I love this business. And I'll tell you another story. Why do where I learned that from? And this was on a small deal, and like there's so many stories that I've taken from these small deals. So I never bash small deals, because small deals, you can learn a lot, and then you take that small deal learning and you apply it to these big deal learnings, and you get paid big money, right? So it was just a condo unit that I bought in Atlanta, and this deal was like awesome. It was like moving ready, and like I thought that was good, right? And a lot of times that is good, right? There's definitely power in focusing on like what you're good at. And in this situation, there was brand new, moving ready, top of the market, and then it was like market crashed in 08, and I was kind of like a sitting duck there. Like I was like, I had this thing that wasn't worth what I paid for, and there was no value for me to go in and add to it, right? But if there was like a kitchen that I could go renovate, or a bathroom, or this or that, I could spend 10 grand and improve the value by 40, right? Or spend 20 grand and improve the value by 50. There was none of that available for me. So that's why I love the being able to go in and add value, right? Because like even if cap rates are going up, the only way to combat that is by going in and adding value, and a lot of times you're doing that through construction, and that's kind of like why I like construction. It's like you can kind of control that a little bit. Owen says, if I was on Twitter, I would retweet this. You can never improve what you don't track. Right on. All right. I'm gonna tell the team to take that quote down and we post that. I'm not on Twitter, but find a way to post something. All right. Yeah. Keyword. That's one of the things I love about Rod, is like he did all this like rearranging of the furniture in my head, and like those words like yet are huge words, right? Because I hadn't bought 100 unit yet. Sounds a lot better. It allows that capacity to continue to give you the encouragement to keep going, right? All right. So Donovan's asking, what are you typically doing on the interior remodel? What level of finishes seem to get you the best bang for your buck? New cabinets or paint, the old ones? floor, appliances, vanities, fixtures, etc. Yeah, really good question. So, with the cabinets, yeah, like I'll just do a high level. What we like to do is like we like to go in and paint the unit. We like to do the cabinets, and I'll go into a little bit more detail on what we like to do with the cabinets later. So we paint cabinets, we do the flooring. We also like to do backsplashes, and people love that. We also like to go in and do like the remote Wi-Fi like thermostats. People love being able to like turn the heat up and down when they're not there. Like they love that, right? So I told paint, flooring, cabinets, appliances. That's a basic renovation package, you know, like, and with the cabinets, the most bang for your buck. Now, if these are wood cabinets, the great thing to do is just to paint them, right? If these are like, you know, they're crummy, like the things are falling apart from the inside, like, well, you just might as well just bite the bullet and just tear the thing out, because you're gonna paint it, and then all of a sudden you're gonna need to buy a new one. So it really depends on what material was used prior to you getting in there and doing your renovation. But I love seeing old wood cabinets, and you just paint them, and then sometimes you can just change the doors. Sometimes those doors are kind of like they're dated, right? You change the doors on them, and then it looks, you just paint the boxes, change the doors, and it looks like that. You take a Volkswagen, you make it that Ford Chevy, you know, maybe a couple years old, but it's good. It's not a Rolls Royce, but still good. I don't know. Hoping that answers your question.
That was awesome. That's what I was looking for.
Cool. All right. So we use CoConstruct for our projects and schedules. I highly recommend it. I like CoConstruct too. I think it's another great software. Again, if you're on a budget, use a spreadsheet. The important part about it all is being able to track something. Cool. So, hi everyone, Anna Lang from Cleveland, Ohio. I'm an accountant. I love accountants. Why do I love accountants? Because like they love tracking numbers and tracking things, and wherever you track, you can grow, right? All right. Worked with construction project managers to understand capital funding, capital budgeting, HVAC updates, figuring who can execute the value add is missing for me. Yeah. The execution, construction is a really interesting business, you know, like, you know, my wife's in real estate, and she loves to rag on me sometimes, like, hey, what's going on? Like, why are you so stressed out? Right. But it's like funny when she gets like, she gets a real estate deal, and it's got some renovations to it. I'm like, I'll come home and like, I'll see her, and she's like all stressed out. Like, hey, babe, why are you all stressed out? Well, she's dealing with the contractors, you know, people saying they're going to be there, they don't show up, right? People saying they're doing the work, and they're doing the work, but they're not doing it right. You know, there's a lot of things, you know, construction is an adventurous business, right? And you got to be ready to hop on the roller coaster ride and ride it, and hold everybody accountable to getting to the finish line. Would love to connect with those experienced in this as well. Yeah, definitely connect. Other contractors, yeah, it's a great idea. Let's connect. Antonita said there's a positive tone to it when you add 100%, right? Like, yes, 100%. And it's all about it's that, you know, there's always going to be bad news, right? But there's also, like, I don't care how thin you want to slice a piece of bread, there's always going to be two sides, right? There's going to be the good side, and there's going to be the bad side. And then you have the opportunity to focus on whatever side you want to focus on. But I love focusing on what I can do better, what I can improve, where I can go. I hate focusing on, I'm stuck, I can't do this, I can't do that. Like, I don't even like to even waste one moment, because that one moment you waste is that exact moment you needed to actually get yourself up off the ground. I don't know when it's going to happen. I tell my team like that all the time. Like, hey, like, you're asking for me to promise you this stuff. And like, I'm not in the promise game, but I will tell you this. If you show up every day with me, because I'm going to show up too, and we just put time in, add value, put time in, we're going to create something special. And I love seeing the smile on their face after we get the year done, and we're like, whoa, we put a lot of work in, but we're getting results. And how do we do that? Is like we focus our time and our energy on that piece of the side of the bread that is like what can happen, what the possibilities are, right? Cool. All right. So Alex is asking, hey Oliver, when you are managing the construction, can you talk about when and how you work with the property management team? Yeah, this is really important. Because the property management team, they're managing the entire asset, right? And they're dealing with, like, if you're loud, they're dealing with a lot of those problems, right? If you're leaving a mess, they're dealing with that problem because the tenant base is running back to them saying, like, this guy did this and this guy did that. So there's a lot of communication that needs to happen with property management. And we're all on the same team. Like, we're all trying to improve the property. You still need to communicate, and you still need to connect with them. So what we normally do is we have like a weekly meeting with them. And what are we doing? We're tracking, like it doesn't need to be fancy, but it needs to be like, hey, we're working on these 5 units, and then we're going to have them done by the end of the month. And then by the end of the month, the week before the end of the month, like, hey, we're done. Can you come do your inspection so we can do the punch out so they are ready for officially by the end of the month? And yeah, so it's just making sure you have those communication channels open. And the way you do that is by we like to just put that meeting on everybody's calendar, and it's every Thursday at 1 o'clock or every Tuesday at 10 o'clock, whatever it is. Like, just make the meeting and just book it till the project's done. And everybody has an opportunity to come and communicate. And then they're going to tell you, like, hey, your painters are making a big mess, or your painters are listening to this loud music all throughout the day, and the tenant and this unit doesn't like it. Like, can you tell them to turn it down? Like, yes, tell them to turn it down. But the reason we got that information is because we were communicating, and we're creating a channel to receive that feedback. Cool. Alex, hope that answers your question.
Yeah, real quick on that note, do you ever, you talked about having boots on the ground, kind of verifying work and helping represent the financial interests of the operation, right? So do you ever use the property management team to kind of fill that role, or is that a conflict of interest in a sense?
Yeah, really good question. So it's definitely not a conflict of interest. The one thing that I've found that happens is they can help with that stuff, but it starts to bog them down, now instead of showing and touring clients, which that's what we need to make sure our occupancy is up, is having them showing and touring clients. Now they're going and managing and seeing if the painter or the carpet guy did his work. And yes, they can do it, but it starts to take away from their main focus. And what is their main focus? Their main focus is to keep this place occupied and to keep honestly to keep churn low, right? Keep tenants in the space and keep tenants willing to want to pay more, right? So you can do that. I would just be careful with it, because you start running people too thin and they're trying to do everything and they're not doing anything. Answer your question, Alex? Love. All right. We got it here. Joseph is saying, I have a good friend who works in one of the biggest developers in the USA. I want to be that guy one day, right? I will be that guy one day. Him and I are thinking to work together. Love it. Now you see, we're talking about partnership, like accountability partners. How do you create something big? Have an accountability partner. Show up. I ran a marathon a couple years ago, and I didn't say I was gonna do that by myself. I said I was gonna do that with accountability partner. And sometimes with accountability partners, like the accountability partner might fall off, right? But like all I need is to get started, right? And I'm like a retired racehorse, right? Once I get started, once I get that target in my head, like I usually don't let go, but and it happens to accountability partners, right? So I love thinking about working together, right? Like now you're just thinking about how, and the dream and the vision always is bigger together, right? Always bigger together. He adds a lot of value in finding contractors and materials at heavy discounts. Love that. Yeah. What do you think about such a partnership? Sounds like a great idea. Yeah. Sounds like an amazing idea. I love working with people. Like I said, like Rod says, right? You want 10 people solving one problem. That's how you create massive impact. But you need to make sure that there's a caveat to that, right? That was kind of like a blanket statement. That one problem you guys are solving better be big enough, right? Like if you got 10 people trying to solve a small problem, we got problems. You know, we got to solve big problems, right? And these big deals, right? All right, what else we got here? Thanks, Oliver, for the shout out for the accountants. 100%. I love accountants. Keep me straight, you know. Like I'm like, I'm like a big picture vision type of guy. Like, hey, we're gonna go do this. And the accountant's always like, hey, we gotta finance this. We gotta how are we gonna pay for that? Yeah. All right, let's go. What was the key thing in the first deal you did that made you pull the trigger? The key thing was that I did was, and this is an answer that you can use in any part of your life, right? The key thing that I did was I found a partner that was doing exactly what I wanted to do, right? They had successfully done it and they needed some help. And I had the skill set to help them. And they brought the confidence to the deal. They brought all of those things to the deal. Like the same thing happened with me when I started my construction company. I was a subcontractor before. When I was a subcontractor, I had a guy that was, you know, in the construction business, and he taught me how to get subcontracts from people, right? Then when I wanted to become a general contractor, I found a guy who was doing general contracting, and he helped me get general contracts with the government, right? And then when I want to get in real estate, I found someone who was buying 100+ unit deals. I even when I was doing the small deals, right? I found someone who was buying the small deals and converting them into 2 units, right? But the thing that we just want to make sure we're doing is like we're never out. We always are. We're never capping ourselves with our partners, right? Like we got to make sure our partners are all in alignment with where we want to go, big picture, right? And if they aren't, right, then we just need to have awareness around that and just say like, hey, I'm going to work with this guy to complete this 2 unit, but like I still have a bigger vision, so I'm going to focus all my attention on this now. But like once we get done this, then I'm going to continue looking for that next partner that can help me do this 100 unit deal, right? So that was my biggest takeaway, to pull the trigger, right? Because he had the confidence, he had the certainty. All of this game is certainty and confidence. Like whatever, even when you're looking at, that's why I love numbers too, right? Because the numbers, if they're analyzed properly, can give you confidence, can give you certainty. Getting belly to belly with the stuff, going down to the site and seeing, doing the due diligence. What does that do? It builds your confidence. If you heard what I was saying before, I kept saying confidence, because it builds your confidence. And what does confidence do? When your confidence is high, you pull the trigger. You don't pull your trigger when your confidence is low and your certainty is low. You pull your trigger when your confidence is high. And those small things like getting on site, having partners that have done this before, they know how to get results. They know what they're doing. Those are the things that help you pull the trigger. See Susan Gilbert shaking her head. She's like, yeah, I agree with that. Oh. All right, we got it. All right, property management. Did I get lost in this thing? Property management will not look after your interests the way you will. That's true. But this is kind of, I struggle with this a lot in the beginning too. You know, I was telling you before, I bootstrapped my way to this thing, right? And when you're bootstrapping, you're doing everything. Like, you know, you kind of get like this tunnel vision. Like, I can't trust no one. Like, I want to get, we got to get this stuff from Home Depot. Only I can do it, right? Only I can get this drywall done. Only I can get this painting done. Only I can do that, right? And that will cap you. That will cap you, right? That thought process will cap you. It will help you get to a certain level, but eventually that will cap you, right? So like, yes, does the property management company look after my deal like I would? Probably not. But they do, or he or she, they still do 88% of it. So am I willing to give up 12% to go bigger? Or do I want to just like control everything and just like stay small? Interesting thought process, growth and control are inversely related, right? The more you want to grow, the less control you have. You have a lot of control, you're going to oftentimes not grow that much. If you agree with me, agree with that thought process, say yes in the chat. Yeah, I see a bunch of messages coming in. Yep, okay. We got a couple. That say yes. All right. I love this topic. I've owned home renovation company for 15 years. Updates and huge values to property. You're killing it, Oliver. Keep it up. Yes, sir. Robert. So I was clear about who I am and who I'm not. You know what I mean? That's what we all need to be doing. We can get clear about who we are. Like, who am I? I am a contractor, right? I've created a lot of success in construction. And what do? Is I funnel that into real estate. Who am I not? I'm definitely not a full-blown operator. That's all I do. No, like I'm a contractor that funnels my success into real estate. Why? Because there's a lot of pushing and shoving that goes into construction. Whereas real estate, that's why I like these bigger properties, right? Because like now it starts to become like a machine that's working for you, right? You got two resources. You got time and you got money, right? Funnel that money into something that we got people that are working for the property, right? And now they're working while I'm not working, right? So that eventually is going to turn into like this big compounding effect of I got a lot of money working for me so I can get back all of my time. Cool. So we got Ronald is saying superpowers, deal sourcing, and underwriting. If you want to connect, yeah, I love that. Question: when receiving deals from brokers, I've noticed sometimes they claim it's at a 6 cap, but it's only if you divide against equity, not counting total cost. Is it commonplace amongst brokers, or should I be addressing this in our conversations? Jonathan, can you dive deeper into the question?
Yeah, sure. So I got a deal sent to me today by a broker, and he claimed it was a 6 cap. So
Okay.
When I take the total amount that's going to be needed on the pricing guidance, let's say he says it's 19 million, and I take NOI and I divide it against the 19 million that he's saying is the pricing guidance, I'm getting like about a 3 cap. But then if I take that same NOI and I divide it against, let's say I apply a 65% loan to value on the 19 million pricing guidance, and I only divide the NOI against the equity that would be required, then it's a 6 cap.
Yeah, I mean, that's not how you calculate it. So like,
yeah, I know that's not how you calculate it, but I realized that in 80% of the deals that brokers send me that they claim it's a 6 cap or whatever the case may be, that's the way they're calculating it. So my question is, should I be addressing this to them, or is that just a common practice amongst brokers and you just run your numbers how you run them?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I try not to, because if you address it, it's like you're kind of like you're coming up against them, right? So I mean, and they're going to be your biggest advocate on the deal, right? They're going to be talking to the seller and be like, hey, this guy's a closer. He's going to buy the deal. He's going to be able to execute. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. So what I would do is I would just underwrite the deal and see if it actually works for you or not, right? And then tell them, you know, that when you call them back, and you know, if it doesn't work with you, just say like, hey, you know, this number here is a little high. Like how are you guys calculating that, right? And then you could also share with them before you say that one thing is like, hey, these are all the things that are good. Like that this looks good, this looks good, this looks good. I'm tracking you guys here, so that you create this common reality with this person, right? And then once you create that common reality, they're more open to hearing like, hey, how did they come to this number, right? But I wouldn't do it up front, like, you know, cold calling. You know, a lot of times with brokers, you know, sometimes not everybody has already built that relationship.
Right,
You know?
right. Makes sense.
So I would build that relationship first, and then they're going to be way more open to hearing that feedback. And you know, a lot of times, like, I would just run the numbers and run the deal to see if it works. You know, you know, that was a big thing for me in the beginning, is like getting into the numbers and getting into the deals from an analyzer standpoint. So I had confidence in how the numbers actually even work, right?
Right. Well, that's typically what I've been doing. And a lot of the times I'm coming about 15 to 20% under pricing guidance. And I constantly was asking myself, why does this keep happening? And I realized that's the main reason why, because that's the way that the brokers are doing it, kind of. So I was starting to just think it's like a common practice that they all do, because it's different brokers doing the same thing. But that's some good tips. I'll follow that.
What market are you in, Jonathan?
I'm looking in North Carolina, South Carolina, and I just recently started looking also in the Midwest, like Columbus, Ohio.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Josh says, I posted the comment and do agree with your comment about needing to let go. Yes, sir. Mike is saying, when you buy out of your area, do you use a GC to do the work and use his subs? You hire all the subs separately? I mean, so it depends on who you are, right? Like if you're hiring a GC, you're gonna pay a premium, right? Like, because the GC is hiring the individualized subs, and then he needs to make money, right? Or she needs to make money. So you're gonna pay a premium. Whereas if you know I'm also a contractor, so like we'll hire boots on the ground, so that's our person that's gonna go vet the subs, right? And I'm telling you this, I do this even to this day. And I tell the team to do it even to this day. You want really good people, like the supply houses know the really good painters. They know who's coming to their store every day, every week to buy materials. And if you're buying materials, you're not buying the materials to go sit on your couch and watch shows and TV and catch up on the Real Housewives. Like, you're going out there to work, right? So they know who's working. And if they keep coming back, they must be doing something right. So I like to find those people. And they're usually, a perfect example. We had a project where we were doing all this drywall repair and all this painting and stuff, right? We're getting prices from this GC at like $8,000 for this, $15,000 for that, 16. We do that exact same thing. Hey, can you connect us with a local painter and drywall guy? We get that connection. We vet through a couple of them. We go with this one guy. He comes in, he wants $30 an hour. An hour, instead of paying $10,000 and $15,000, we're paying up $1,200. You see, this is how you make money. Like, so you can use a GC. Is it going to be easier for you to use a GC? Yes, you're going to be talking with one person. They're going to manage 10 people. Yes, it's going to be easier. But like, if you're looking to make money with the construction side of things, like, that was a hack that I gave you. Took me a long time to figure that out, and a lot of money. A lot of heartache too, tears, like no hair, right? Like no hair because a lot of stress. Trying to find these contractors that are good. All right. Any other questions?
One other area
Wow, can't believe I just looked down at the clock. It's 4 o'clock. That was quick. It's an hour.
Anyone have any last minute questions before we move on to speed networking?
I saw someone had their hand raised. Who had their hand raised? Want to make sure you got your question answered. All right.
I
No?
wonder I wonder if you could talk more about your role as the general contractor. So you're saying you use boots on the ground in the market, and what, as far as your, like, how often are you going to that, or are you relying on the boots on the ground, if it's out of your area, let's say, where you're living?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, boots on the ground is doing it all. There's been times where I've never gone to the job. I've never seen the job. Never anything, right? You get good boots on the ground, there's trust there, you guys build a relationship there. Like, you got to lean into the trust. There's really good people out there. There's also really bad people out there. But if you find really good people, trust them, right? And utilize that trust. Like, you think about like Elon Musk, he doesn't go to every dealership every day and like grind down and make sure that one person's doing this thing. Like, no, he's trusting people to execute. Right? Like, that's how the greats do it. Like, they're not going to be overbearing. Like, and I get the thought process. Like, trust me, like I bootstrapped it. Like, I was, it was scary a lot of the time, and it still is scary, right? So I get it. Didn't have the resources, so I had to do everything on my own. Or I had the thought process that I did, right? But there's also a better way to do it, and it is through finding great people, and they're out there. You just need to find them, and then once you find them, lean into them, grow, and build something big together. That's I find one of the biggest failures that we have in society is that we just want to do everything, and then like you can only create something so big by yourself, right? But once you go all in with people and you're willing to put the time, energy, effort in, and they're willing to put the time and energy and effort in, you're in alignment. There's accountability. Everybody, there's no free lunch, right? And everybody's pushing towards the target. Like, you can do really big, fun, cool things together.
Yeah, exciting.
And
What about
things together?
What about the licensing side of it? You're a licensed contractor, and does that work in every state, or is it like state? I don't know anything about that part of it.
Yeah, so really good question. So from a licensing standpoint, that's why I'm not going in and pulling the electrical permit. I'm finding a local electrician to do that. I'm just hiring the boots on the ground that's going to manage that electrician. So the local electrician has the license, right? That allows you to scale. And that, like, I'm in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Mississippi, Texas. I'm in, where's that place? Memphis, Tennessee, Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia. I'm in 10 states right now. Imagine if I had to go get 10 GC licenses and get certified and like, I'd still be doing the test. Like, I wouldn't be making millions. Like, I'm making millions because I'm finding great people out there and I'm trusting them. They bring the certifications and all that stuff. Great. You got the certification. Let's roll. Let's make money together. Yeah, great. You got that certification. Great. Let's make money together. Let's go. But like, if I wanted just to have all the licenses and the certifications, I'd still be taking the test right now. Probably even still studying it because I would have failed half of them.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Pro tip. All right. I appreciate it, guys.
All right. Well, thank you for hosting today, Oliver. That was great. I am going to stop the recording now.